Hi, I'm Sandy Brown, Mayor of the town of Orangeville, and this is Talk 519 on Rogers TV. This show, we're going to explore all the good things that happen in Orangeville and Dufferin County, and we're going to look at ways to continuously improve our town and the surrounding area. Tonight's show, we're going to explore tourism, the effects on our economy and our community. Joining me tonight is Eduardo Ford, Executive Director of Headwaters Tourism, and Ray Osmond, the General Manager of Community Services for the town of Orangeville. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Tourists contribute to sales, profits, jobs, tax revenue, and income in our area. Through secondary effects, tourism affects most sectors of our economy. An economic impact analysis of tourism activity normally focuses on changes in sales, income, and employment in a region resulting from tourism activity. So let's get right to it. Tourism is a hidden value to residents. It feels harder to see the impact on our community. Tourism has evolved into a big industry here in our area, one of the fastest growing sectors in Orangeville. So what I wanted to do, Eduardo, if you could just walk us through the average tourist who would come to our area.
Our main part of tourism, most of our tourists come from GTA.
Right.
GTA, and but also we have our regional tourists coming from other areas in Headwaters, or from Brampton, or even from Collingwood. People coming from to Orangeville, from these places for culture, for all the events, for the farmers market, for the island lake. We have a lot of to offer to these people. And then there is another kind of tourists that we're seeing lately. It's niche markets. We have Chinese market. The Chinese market, we see Chinese tourists much more often. This is partly due to the fact that we are advertising in some
certain publications.
It's very well done by your department. It's doing it great with the Chinese community in Toronto. So when they have family coming from China to visit them, the first thing they do, they come here.
Right.
And this is fantastic because we've seen that evolution of not just the GTA people, but just people from outside other markets. We also start seeing some French people. It was fantastic. Last week we had some French groups visiting us. So we're getting the people to know us outside just GTA.
So these tour groups, when they come up to our area, they'll be investigating some of our tourism assets here. Island Lake Conservation Area, for instance, and maybe adding a theater visit or a restaurant visit here. And some of these tour groups are coming up by bus.
Well, they do come by bus. Some of them come by car. Hopefully we'll get some public transportation soon that will allow us to get more tourists here. But these people, when they come, they're looking for experiences. They're looking for itineraries. They're looking. So we offer all that. They can look either at our website or the website of Orangeville. And in our website, they can find different itineraries, different experience. They can start, we have suggestions for them. They can start at the Island Lake, do some trails, then go for breakfast. They have the Son of a Chef, they have PS, they have the choices on Broadway are fantastic and unique and different from what they will find in Toronto, or what they will find in Brampton. And then they can stay for culture. They can go to the theater, and they can have a late dinner after theater, which will be fantastic. And this is the full day. They have the full day to spend here, and they will still have things to do the next day.
Right. We have some great recreational facilities in our area, Island Lake being one of them. And Ray, coming up, I think at our next council meeting, we're going to be talking about a bike and trail master plan. Can you share some of the things and the impact that something like that might have on tourism in our area?
Yes, Sandy. It's the trails, cycling and trails master plan. In actual fact, has a big impact if it can be used to create opportunities for people when they come to our area. One of the things that we touch on is that when you look at tourism, you look at it from I think it was Roger Brooks that made a point about this 4 times rule. As a minimum, when a person travels, take 1 hour to travel here, so they're coming from the GTA, and can we get them to spend 4 hours in the area and enjoying some of these experiences that Eduardo touches on, whether it's going to the various parks, or whether it's going to a facility, or going downtown shopping, or going for a meal, or a case of beer, or going to the theater. How much of that can we package? When it comes to the trails and the cycling piece, one of the biggest movements, if you would, in this province is the cycling tourism. So that we have these large cycling groups that are coming through our municipalities and want to stop, have a meal, refresh, spend a little time before they travel on through. And you're seeing a lot of this happening now. It's a huge multi-million-dollar business right across the province, certainly in the country. Right. Likewise, in tourism, when hikers come and they want to hike through our system, and we want to be able to have our Trails Master Plan will actually identify how we connect to our outside of our boundaries. How we connect the trails to the south, the trails to the north, the east, and west. So now we become, what we see is we become more of a hub to the trails connection. So it's a big thing for us in terms of tourism.
And the other thing that's going to result in an expanded bike and trail system in Orangeville is, they talk about active transportation and the fact that you want to get families out, perhaps people could commute through this bike and trail system to their jobs in town. And I know that municipalities that have promoted this really see an uptick in healthy living and family activities. So.
Absolutely. This is where it kind of ties a lot to what we're doing. One of the things we found in the community services department how it's structured is being able to find synergies between the recreation piece, the economic development piece, the tourism piece, if you would, the library piece. Now you get to all these amenities, and now you can use active transportation to do that, whether you're walking, hiking, whether you're riding a bike. Sometimes it's a lot easier and a lot more efficient and better for your health if you can leave your house on a bike and go to do a little quick shopping or go to a activity rather than drive your car and find parking and all these kinds of things. So it's kind of interesting. I think the Trails and Cycling Master Plan will give you some really good tips on how we can do that.
Right. One of the other great things that has happened in Orangeville since I moved here 29 years ago is this evolution of Orangeville is a cultural hub. We have artists now in our midst. We have writers. We have lots of live music here. We have a robust local theater scene, and this is something that's really, I think, in my experience, only happened in the last 20 years or so, and it's an awesome asset for our town. And there's a lot of spin-off, obviously, for the businesses in our cultural hub being downtown. Ray, maybe you could talk about the tree carvings, for instance, which is another interesting feature here, and it was promoted recently on a TV station in Toronto, the fact that we have this year. There's something like 50 of these trees. So can you give a little bit of background on that?
It's interesting because, coming from outside, and I'm an outsider too, I came here a couple of years ago, and one of the things you find out really quickly is this tree carving thing, which is very unique. And one of the things you're looking at from a tourism perspective is what is unique about Orangeville? What is authentic about Orangeville? And these sculptures are huge. When people come and find them, we have put it on a digital map. So you can actually get a digital map, and you can follow all these things around town. You can make a day trip of it. You can go and view them, take pictures, and be part of an experience. And we would see how can we take that and cluster that with something else? How can we cluster that little tour, that walkabout, with a meal at a particular restaurant, or how we can partner with other restaurants to do that? So as a municipality and as an operation municipality, what we're looking at and saying, okay, we can promote it and we can market it, and how can we do that with the involvement of Edwards tourism, or we do that with the downtown business community, or we do that with theater, or the case would be. So a good point is that the sculptures, and one of the things we want to do from an Orangeville perspective is we really want to talk about what's different, or what's unique about Orangeville, and why Orangeville is a different experience.
What it's fantastic about that is that like trails, culture, these tourism products will not produce by themselves value, but they're excellent connectors where we can hang different products that will produce value. We
Right.
can have that culinary. We can have that entertainment. We can have many
Right.
products that will actually produce value for the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing about Orangeville is it's kind of the hub for Dufferin County and North Caledon, of which there's spokes out to these different
Absolutely.
tourism assets. When we had Roger Brooks come in a couple of months ago to give us a presentation, we talked about the Alton Mill, talked about our Museum of Dufferin, which those viewers who are watching, if you haven't been to the Museum of Dufferin, I highly recommend you get up there. It's at the corner
Excellent.
of Highway 89 and Airport Road, and it's really an excellent facility that we're very proud to have here. And I know that there's some tour groups that come in and visit Orangeville. They'll go up there, and then on the way home, they might stop at the Adamo Estates Winery.
Exactly.
And some excellent things that we have to share in our area. So
Orangeville radiates around.
yeah,
And that's important because that's a hub that you were talking about. And that from here, they can do a lot of things.
right. So we've only got a couple minutes here, but Eduardo, if you could just wrap up maybe what strategies you think we should be using here to attract more tourists to our area.
Well, I think clusters, you mentioned clusters. Cluster is one of our strategies because we can package those experiences. Social media, we're doing a great campaign on social media, strategic social media marketing
Right.
to attract not only the younger one, but all generations are now
Right.
using the smartphone. So we'll go from the printed visitor's guide to the social, to the all these on digital, and moving through social media,
Right.
moving it through social media, and answering to what the public is actually expecting, the tourists are also expecting.
And the other thing that I've seen that's interesting is sort of partnerships between private enterprise
Absolutely.
and government. You know, Ray, our economic development department is working closely, the local BIA, which is kind of a quasi, government funded, but local business, and Headwaters Tourism, and all of us working together, I think,
Absolutely.
is going to create synergy and really going to be the best for this area. So, but we're just about out of time here for this segment. I wanted to thank very much Eduardo Laforgue from Headwaters Tourism, Executive Director, for joining us, and Ray Osmond, who's General Manager of Community Services of the Town of Orangeville. Thank you
sir.
very much, gentlemen, for joining me today.
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thank you very much, Henry.
Thank you. Welcome back to Talk 519 on Rogers TV. I'm Mayor Sandy Brown. I'm joined in our second segment with Eduardo Laforgue, who's stayed to further our discussion on tourism. And we're joined by Larry Kurtz, local businessman and the founder of the Orangeville Blues and Jazz Festival. So welcome, Larry.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you for
Happy to
joining
be
us.
here.
Yeah. So I want to start off talking about the Blues and Jazz Festival. It's celebrating its 17th year.
Yes.
For those who don't know, it's May 31st to June 2nd this year. There's going to be 4 stages and 90 acts over the weekend. It's been named one of the top 100 festivals in Ontario for 2019. So I know that all of the town of Orangeville is extremely proud of this event, and we thank Larry for getting it off the ground as the founder of the Blues and Jazz Festival. So I wonder if we could start off. What gave you the idea to get this rolling, Larry, and what were some of the hurdles that you faced early on in getting things rolling?
So, being a musician myself, years ago, we were always going into Toronto to check out music, my wife and I. And I kind of thought, wouldn't it be great to have some of that happen in Orangeville? Really, like a long time ago, 20 years ago, there wasn't a lot of that happening in town. And it was sort of a little bit selfish at first because I wanted my favorite musicians to come to Orangeville and play. So I started booking shows in the old Mad Hatter location, which is no longer with us, that location, but started selling tickets and booking shows, and it sort of led me to think maybe we could do a whole festival. Right. And yeah, that's sort of how the light bulb went off in my head to start one.
Right. Do you recall the numbers that happened in the first year?
Yes. So basically, to start the festival, I started planning about a year ahead. I went to I'm a woodworker, so I went to all of my customers and suppliers and asked them if they would sponsor this event they'd never heard of. Right. And
so you did raise some money through some sponsorship?
I did, yeah. So I basically hired a designer. We created a program, sold ads, and then I also had a beer garden, which was very helpful too, with local breweries sponsoring us at the time. The first year we had 2,000 people overall for the weekend. It was a one-day event with 7 bands. We held it in the park behind the town hall where it's located now. Yes. We used 2 stages. We used the little band shell as a stage, and then I had another stage, and 5 restaurants were involved. So it started right out as a mini version of what we have now. Yeah.
And last year, what was the count of visitors that took part?
We calculate over 35,000 people last year at the event over the 3 days, and that includes our events that we're programming in the park and on the street, and then there's around 20 restaurants involved in the festival as well.
So this is really Orangeville's happiest weekend of the year. I mean, I know people that sort of planned that I'm definitely going to be in town on that weekend.
It is difficult to get a room that weekend. Yes, it's a busy weekend.
But you know, and also when we talk about music and like the good feelings that music brings to us, but there's a real economic benefit to the town because those 35,000 people, again, I don't know if you've done the metrics on it, but you know, a lot of people from town obviously go, but there's a lot of visitors now that come to our town and leave money behind in the pockets of our restaurateurs and our local businesses.
We feel that we've done a couple of surveys, professionally done, and we get around 40% of the visitors are from out of town and 60% local, and overall it generates like over like $1.3 million in economic benefit that weekend for the town. Yeah. So it's a good number.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And Eduardo, so you've stayed on for segment 2 because I know that you want to learn, and Larry's obviously a great asset to call upon as we try and develop more festivals and events. Do you see that in the future here for our local area?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Events and festivals are one of those connectors that we were talking about before. We're talking about the trails and culture, and festivals, events are a connector. And Larry, I love that you did these surveys, professionally done surveys, because that 1.3 million that generated, this is exactly that value creation for the community. Exactly. Because these are all these products were hung on the festival to sell food, to sell retail, to sell experiences, to sell whatever. Yeah. But it's that's really creating value for the community. We need more of those.
Yeah, these festivals are not cheap to put on. The larger they grow, the more infrastructure and more expense there is, from security to just setup and stages and audiovisual equipment. So if you've got metrics where you can prove to local businesses the benefit, then sponsorship and the towns and counties and tourism authorities and BIAs are more likely to participate and help the festival in its fundraising efforts, right?
So I think part of the success of the festival has been that it is centered in the downtown of Orangeville. This particular festival brings everybody into the center of the town, and it radiates out from there. So that's been a real boon to us. The BIA has been really supportive. We really appreciate it. They understand the value of having thousands of people coming to downtown Orangeville.
Absolutely, because it has a sense of place. Yes, and that the festival helps to create that sense of place. Yes. Downtown has it's a beautiful downtown, so it really helps getting all these people. And you talk about the first time we talk about that small holds festival. That's maybe the next step that
Yeah.
we should
Start thinking
explore.
about something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, Larry. I mean, when you started this, did you have a vision for 35,000 people initially, or was it a dream,
you
or
know,
it just evolved to this?
Yeah, I had seen it maybe in a few places where we would go, you know, Montreal, huge. It could be done with millions of dollars pumped into it, but also Beaches Jazz and places like that where it was more a community festival that grew. It could be done, but I really had no idea that it could grow this big. And you know, now we're not for profit and all volunteer driven, and so it's really found its place.
Yeah.
It's
But
fantastic.
you know, I've been involved in a lot of volunteer things. It's a challenge, really, to get volunteers stoked up and committed, because a lot of people want to put their hands up, but to really show up and do
Exactly.
it. So I
And
know,
push.
having been involved in some other things, that keeping the volunteers motivated and coming back every year. But
There's been no way it could have come this
It's-
far without, like, we've had extremely dedicated volunteers
Yeah,
that
so
just
it's-
are in there rain or shine,
Yeah.
working really hard. So they're really into it.
Yeah, and I mentioned in the last show, Larry, and you've been, you know, called, I think, a bit of a Renaissance man, because you're an artist as well. And
Yes.
how long I mean, you've probably been interested in art all your life, but the development of your current, you know, artistic endeavors, I mean, it seems to me just in the last 10 years has kind of been in front of the public.
Well, you know, that's really, when I was raising my family, that was all put aside. I used to do it in high school and
Oh, okay.
public school.
Right.
But
You stoked it back up again when the kids were grown, and
that's
you could
true.
take some time.
I thought I'm going to wait till I'm retired, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. So I thought I would just go for it.
But
Yeah.
I think you've been here longer than I have. I've been here 28 years now. It just seems like there's been this cultural soul
I
kind
love
of
it, yeah.
that has grown here, right? Art, theater, music,
Dance.
dance. Of course, I missed dance last time we were talking about it. But you're right.
Literature, yeah,
It's,
all
it is.
that,
It's
yes.
very.
Yes.
Yeah. It may be what separates Orangeville to other small towns. You know, I think of Aurelia, and maybe you'd think about Stephen Leacock and Gordon Lightfoot, but you know, we've got a lot of parts to this.
There are different areas in Canada where there's pockets of artists, but there seems to be a big collection right in this area.
And we have songwriters,
Yes.
we have playwrights, we have writers.
Yes, it's
So
amazing.
it really is.
Theater has been a
amazing.
driver.
Comedians.
Yes, we have
Comedian.
some. Well, did you see this young fellow? Is it McCleary?
Michael McCreary,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
of course.
McCreary.
Yeah, fantastic.
He's going to be performing this weekend, I think, if
Yes.
I'm not mistaken. So
Yes. Michael's awesome.
awesome local talent that's been developed here.
And we're going to have a big event with the summer, with the Midnight Summer Dream performed
Yes.
in
David
in the,
Nairn is
yes,
putting
the
something
Island
together
Lake.
there.
So
Island
it's
Lake.
going to be
Yeah.
a fantastic production, and it's like a dream by itself. So
Yeah.
just the place where it's going to
I'm happy to
be
see
done.
that start to develop. We're actually they're a venue at the festival this year as well. They're going to hold a couple of concerts in the band shell during the festival this
Fantastic.
year. So it's
Yeah.
it's great.
So those of you who are watching tonight, if you haven't been out to Island Lake conservation area, a couple of summers ago they opened an amphitheater, which actually is kind of a floating stage on the water.
Fantastic.
And there's been a number of musical events there. There's been a number of plays by Theatre Orangeville, and Theatre Orangeville again this year is going to have a big production out there, and it's on a beautiful day. It's a gorgeous place to sit and enjoy music or theater. So
sure.
if you haven't been out there, you should. It's very, you know, it's in our backyard, and the walking trails and the scenery. In fact, when you get to the back of the park there, it's almost like you're in Muskoka.
It is. It's great.
Absolutely.
And you know, you can rent kayaks and canoes and get out on the water and fish if you so desire. So it's a really great tourism asset.
I
for
go out
our
and
area.
windsurf on it. It's a great lake for that as well.
There you go, windsurfing.
It's a lot of fun.
That's fantastic. So, Eduardo, do you think you mentioned, you know, we talked about small halls festivals and things. Are there other festivals that are percolating up now in
Well,
this area?
Yes, we're looking to develop more on the cultural side because, as you say, it's a hub. and we have all these assets that we can put together. So besides music, we have a lot on the writers and poets. We have
Yes,
already
yes.
things on poets, but we're trying to build something on visual arts,
Yes.
so
Yes.
that we can actually bring it more. We have already some galleries, we have some artists
Yes.
already, but I think organizing, we're trying to organize from Headwaters Tourism the studio tours, so we can open it up and center on Orangeville. So we're starting from here.
I think Larry's festival really is focused us on the downtown core and realizing what a great pedestrian mall that is. And I'd like to
Absolutely.
see more of that happening in the summer months in Orangeville. If we
Absolutely.
can create maybe an expanded farmers market and do some things like that.
Well, bring
So
back the farmers market to downtown, to Broadway. Could be a fantastic idea in
yeah,
the future.
I think they've got, they're tight for space there, so maybe we should talk about opening things up there. But
Absolutely.
fortunately, we're just about at the end of our time here, but Eduardo and Larry, I want to thank you very much for joining me today. I think tourism is in very good hands. I know both
Thank
of
you.
you are promoting this area, and we look forward to seeing more good things in the future. So, and again, for those of you at home, I'd like you to join us on Facebook at Talk 519, and thank you for joining me tonight and our guests, and we look forward to seeing you at the next show. Thanks very much.
Great.